crew will handle several thousand takeoffs and landings. Red alert on the Atlantic. Carrier Strike Group 8, a heavily armed naval formation headed by an aircraft carrier, is out on the Atlantic to rehearse a real case scenario. The purpose of the 4-week maneuver is to practice the tactical interplay between the warships prior to engaging in combat. 3 nations are involved.
Any mission, anytime, anywhere, we're ready to go.
The centerpiece of the group is its flagship, the carrier Harry S. Truman, a 1,093 feet long floating small town with a military airport. With 5,600 personnel on board, the Truman can accommodate 49 jet fighters. During the exercise, its crew will handle several thousand takeoffs and landings. The physical demands are so massive that all those involved always have to push themselves to the very limit.
Being out here is definitely stressful. It's a very stressed high environment.
A further 1,400 naval personnel are serving on the group's destroyers and frigates. Over the next few weeks, they too will be engaged in the most demanding military exercises. Fire on board has to be combated swiftly and effectively. Medical teams have to ensure that those with injuries or burns receive prompt attention.
Man overboard! Man overboard!
And anyone going overboard into the cold waters of the Atlantic has to be rescued with all haste. Far away from the mainland, the warships will fire thousands of rounds of ammunition and launch dozens of rockets. Attacks will be controlled tactically from the group's operation centers. Stress in a confined space in the tough daily routine of life in the Navy. Warn unidentified approaching aircraft in order to indicate our capacity for action and that of the force. Commander, over and out. To defend peace on the world's oceans, that is the reason why 7,000 sailors, soldiers, and pilots are prepared to endure 4 weeks of torture on the high seas. 4 weeks that will see them grow together to form a powerful carrier group. Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia is the biggest naval base in the world. It is from here that the warships of Carrier Strike Group 8 will set out to take part in one of the toughest military maneuvers staged by the U.S. Navy. Its flagship is the huge aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman. Special tugs are needed to maneuver the 95,000-ton Colossus through the port area. The carrier will then head straight into its area of operation, the Atlantic. The crews of 5 other warships and a hunter submarine have also said goodbye to their families. Among them, the crew of the frigate Hessen, a German special ship that is a newcomer to the carrier group. The 20,000 horsepower tugs also helped the Hessen to reach the open sea. Out on the ocean, each of the 7 units takes up its tactical position for the forthcoming Kampfzuex maneuver. The group must pass this comprehensive battle training exercise. Only then will it be regarded as combat ready. The focus of every operation by Carrier Strike Group 8 is the USS Harry S. Truman, a Nimitz-class American aircraft carrier, 1,093 feet long and 250 feet wide. This floating military airbase is one of the biggest ships of its kind. The Truman is protected by 5 other warships and a hunter submarine. They include 2 high-tech destroyers, the Arleigh Burke and the Jason Dunham. Both vessels are equipped with state-of-the-art electronic weapons systems. Ultra-sensitive radar and sonar systems detect attackers and transmit their coordinates to the ship's missile launchers. An American cruiser, the USS Normandy, serves the carrier as a floating missile screen. The eyes and ears of the strike group is a German naval vessel, the Hessen. Its special field is aerial reconnaissance. The smallest ship in the group is the Roald Amundsen, a frigate belonging to the Royal Norwegian Navy. Together with a Los Angeles-class hunter submarine, it circles the entire group like a guard dog in order to repulse attackers from all sides. Supreme Commander of Carrier Strike Group 8 is Admiral Eugene Black. He controls and monitors every operation by the group. The Admiral is ever mindful of the task of his Carrier Strike Group.
98% of the commerce that flows across the globe flows at sea. And strike groups and the ships that make them up and the aircraft guarantee that free flow.
It's the start of a new shift on the deck of the Harry S. Truman. Today, the crew will be taking part in a complex air defense exercise. All 49 combat jets will soon be taking off in quick succession. But first, the crew have to check every millimeter of the flight deck. Any piece of metal, no matter how small, could become a serious threat to the jets on takeoff. The flight deck has a special surface comprised of a mixture of rubber and scouring powder. This makes it extremely durable and ensures that despite the moist sea air, it is especially skid-proof. With the runway only 820 feet long, this is hugely important when the fighters take off and land. The Foreign Objects Debris Walk, FOD for short, is a mandatory part of the morning program. Despite the tremendous care taken in working on deck, when the crew combed the 194,000 square foot runway, time and again they found dozens of small parts. Once the deck has been given the all clear for flight operations, the pilots head for the runway. Those allowed to take off here are among the elite of the U.S. Air Force. After being put through special Top Gun training, the pilots have passed the Naval Flight School's toughest test, an accolade which, amongst other things, brings with it permission to take off and land on aircraft carriers.
This air wing, comprised of the several squadrons that we have aboard, come from 5 different bases. When we do our separate training in those 5 bases, we then come together for different air wing events so that we practice working together. And then we come aboard the aircraft carrier for several different training evolutions. About 1,800 people in the air wing, and when integrated with 3,200 people in the aircraft carrier, build quite a team, 5,000 people, ready to go forth and do good work.
Working on the deck of an aircraft carrier is highly strenuous for the men and women of the air wing and the pilots of the Super Hornets. A shift lasts 12 hours, sometimes even longer. Besides the physical exertions, the team have to cope with extreme noise, high temperatures, exhaust fumes, and fine dust. Despite this pressure, it must be perfectly clear what each person is responsible for. This is regulated by a special clothing scheme. Shirts of different colors identify the various teams and their jobs. Brown is the color worn by the plane captains. They are the aircraft technicians. Each jet bears the name of its technician. An unwritten law says that the Super Hornet is the plane captain's baby. The pilot of the F-18 merely borrows it from him. The sailors in purple call themselves grapes. They refuel the jets and manage the 12,000 tons of special fuel on board the Truman. JP5 kerosene is a safety fuel with a particularly high flash point. Nevertheless, refueling the aircraft is a highly dangerous operation. Consequently, every valve on the tank hoses and the complex pump structure is monitored closely from the control center.